Hi, everybody. I'm taking a break from adventures in Waterloo Region because not a lot of us can go on an adventure in Waterloo Region right now. And instead, I'm going to focus on another skill that I have, which is talking to people in ways that help them receive feedback or information that could be difficult to hear. I've been a part of a community group for a long time that practices kind of communication. And if you want to know more about that, just message me. But for today, I'm going to just be focusing on, or sorry, for in this video series, I'm just going to be focusing on my own thoughts and reflections and learnings about how to give feedback in difficult situations or how to receive things as a learner. My hashtag is we're all learners, and that's how I'm trying to hold this whole pandemic. I am constantly judging people, constantly, and myself. And it's exhausting and it makes sense in some ways because we are all trying to learn this together. But when we go into anger and judgment, everybody loses. Obviously, we've experienced that. So I'm going to try to break this series down if I have time and energy and inclination to do it after today. And hopefully I will. But I'm going to try to break it down into different little topics. So today, some of you noticed on my Facebook wall a post on asking people to leash their dogs. We were out yesterday and a lot of people had their dogs off the leash and they would run up to you. And I don't know 100% if that can transmit coronavirus, but it's also not even really legal to have your dog off the leash. So I'm aware that a lot of folks have phobias about dogs. Dog owners have dogs that don't need other dogs running up to them. And what I'm experiencing is people trying to be compassionate. One woman's dog ran up to me. She said, sorry, and then kept moving towards me, and her dog kept moving towards me, and she didn't put him on the leash. So sometimes we use the word sorry in a way that just says, I'm acknowledging I'm doing something inappropriate, but I'm not going to stop doing it. And that can be very angering. I could get quite angry when that happens. And I think, why did you even say sorry? Just say, I'm going to do what I want. So, however, that's a coping strategy that people have learned. So, today I'm going to talk about some ideas about how I think I'm going to approach this in future because I have decided that I'm going to talk to people on the street if I feel safe in ways that help them to learn. And I'm not saying you should have to do this. Do it if you want, but if you feel safe. So I think the biggest thing when you're kind of encountering a person like that is you have no idea where they're coming from. You don't actually understand their decision. That's like the number one thing. You honestly cannot make assumptions about their decision. It might be illegal. Objectively, they're doing something illegal, but you still don't really fully know why they're doing it. And most people doing things have a reason that they think makes sense. And if you can come from that position, what they're doing makes sense to them. That kind of is like a good way to start and build rapport. Um, I also try to really, it's not always time for this in a quick situation, but I'm trying to like calm my own body. I don't do this when I'm upset, especially if I'm with my partner. I'll take some time or with a friend. But in the moment, sometimes you can't calm down. So I would say just do a really fast breathe in, breathe out. If you have a religious faith or practice, pray. If you have a different practice, connect to that and just anything you can do to get grounded real quick. So the way I imagine saying something, I have a few different strategies that I've been thinking of, which is, hey, I just want to ask, would you mind putting your dog on the leash? I mean, like pretty direct. You don't have to use any like hippie language. Just, would you put your dog on the leash? But I think the tone is the most important there. It's difficult not to come from judgment. So one possibility might be to think, how would I say this to, I want to say a child, but we don't always treat children really kindly in our society. So how would you say this to like a puppy or a really cute kitten? You know, something that's really not threatening to you. How would you say it? Like, how would you say it if you 100% knew the person was about to do it in 5 minutes? I think that might be a good strategy because we've all had situations where we've been corrected moments before we were going to fix the problem. So, you know, hey, are you going to leash the dog? It's a little better. Um, Another one might be, oh, your dog's making me uncomfortable because I'm afraid of dogs. Could you please leash your dog? So revealing your own experience is powerful there. A lot of people respond to compassionately to when another person reveals their own fears or pain. Um, it's really hard to keep, especially as women, it can be hard to keep our own insecurities out. I joked yesterday, I just wondering if you could please keep the dog on the leash, which sort of sounds insecure and being an asshole at the same time. And that's like the one, especially as women, that's the one voice you're going to want to not use. Do not use the cringy Valley Girl accent because it makes people mad because it's both insecure and entitled. Um, it's so hard as women. It is so hard if you are not just women, but if you're socialized in that way. Practice looking yourself and just saying things in really direct tones, as if maybe you even sound like a robot. But go for that. Go for robot. I'm wondering if you could leash your dog. It's better. I sound like a freaking robot, but the tone is so neutral. Um, Last, you might want to pause and in a context where you can say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like maybe not that intimately, but we are socially distant, but we can still talk across those 2 feet. Like, "Hey, how's it going?" Take a moment to just establish that rapport. But in the end, you might have a situation where you want to be firm and not be afraid to be firm. People are getting busted. You can say, "Hey, you know what? People are getting fined for this. So I'm not sure if you like this is disingenuous, but you could say, I don't know if you're aware." I mean, you have to be careful using that tone. It sounds patronizing, but people are being fined. So in a way, you're helping someone if you're asking them to not get fined. It's a fine line to not be patronizing, but hey, they're fining people now. So like now that sounded defensive. It's so hard. Um, Yeah, I mean, in the end, I think the best thing is a really straightforward tone, but completely operating from the premise that they were just about to do it and they're totally open to it. So, hey, could you put your dog on the leash? You know, you don't have to sound even nice because it's not a nice time. I mean, it's a time of kindness, but it's not a party time where it doesn't matter because it matters. And sometimes people are going to react badly, so do it when you feel safe. Uh, Maybe don't approach someone who looks like they're having a really shitty day. Look for someone who's kind of relaxed, having fun, and maybe enter into the spirit of how, hey, how's it going? Like, great dog. Hey, dude, like, I think you like I think we're supposed to keep them on the leash. Um, would you mind putting your leash on your dog? So anyway, those are some thoughts. I would love to hear your comments on strategies you've used or thoughts you have or questions about approaching things as learners. To summarize, the most important things is assume everyone's a learner. It is not a right, wrong test that you fail. Every moment is an opportunity to learn here, not to fail. Secondly, we don't all have to be exactly perfect. One dog off a leash isn't going to destroy the world. Come from that perspective. If you don't have your dog on a leash today, you can put on a leash tomorrow. There's always another opportunity to do a good job. And there's no reason to feel like you're telling someone they failed to exist as a human being. It's not that big of a deal. And it does matter. So when you approach it, it matters. I think the most important mindset is things matter, but they're not about fundamental worth or shame or failure. It matters, but it's also kind of light. It's light. This is important to me, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, this is like, a dog on a leash. This isn't like, patient zero flying all over the world. And then maybe later topics will address more serious topics, but let's start light. So I hope that you enjoy this. I hope it inspires you to think about how you're learning every day and how no one is right or wrong, getting out of right, wrong mentality. People are doing things that are dysfunctional and hurtful and unsustainable and selfish or self-focused, but we are all doing our best, even when we look like we're not. We all, I believe, mean well. Um, that's a bigger discussion for a different day, but I like to take the approach, we are all learning, we're all trying to be our best, and the way that we get through this is to stay in that learner mindset where we always have another opportunity and we really want to support each other's growth and wellness, not just their perfection. So hashtag we are all learners. Share your comments about how you're a learner and how your family or friends are learning. And hopefully I'll make more of these with some other concrete details about minute situations that have consequences and drive us crazy, but also we can kind of take in stride. Thanks.